Welcome back to another episode of the 9 Point Day podcast. Another 5 point episode. These are the mini episodes. Got a couple more of these, and we'll get back to the regularly scheduled programming. Just like all the rest of them, I have a topic, surveyed all the previous guests that we've had over the last couple weeks, couple months, and see their take on it. And now I explain it to you. This is a good one. This episode's about advice for new throwers, and that's kind of like, I don't know. It's one of those topics that you don't want to come off as too preachy. As this is how things are supposed to be. Newcomer, do what we tell you to do and fall in line. It's kind of more of like one of those like onboarding processes. We found people who are interested in this and they want to do good, they want to do better, they want to follow the rules and kind of like I don't know, assimilate. That's a dirty word these days. People don't like to use the word assimilate, but there's a culture in the Highland Games, and these are kind of things that we feel will help like onboard new people and give them like a landing pad, so to speak. Yeah, I'll go through them person by person, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts on advice for new throwers, and I'll kind of give it along the way. All right. So first we got Danny Autry, professional out of Alaska. He says spend more time in the field as opposed to in the gym. Like he said, if you have 7 hours a week for Highland Games, he said 6 of those hours should be in the field throwing, which is huge. Someone outside, like it's hugely important, because like the name of the game is to throw. Like that's what we're here to do. And if you are having trouble learning the events, you're not going to get that in the gym. You have to get the reps. I know a lot of guys who've competed in the games for 10, 20, 25 years, and they started young. They started when they were like 13, 14, 15, and their knowledge of how to throw events in the Highland Games is so far beyond what like I can comprehend in my short time doing this, because they've just thrown so much. They have so many more reps than everyone else. They understand it. And that's not to say that they're better throwers than anyone else, that they just understand it better. And that in turn will help you do better of whatever your capability is, whatever your peak can possibly be. Understanding how to throw like will get you there. And you only get that by actually throwing. You don't get that just by like reading a book. So you have to go out there and do it. Like that's, and I can't argue that. That's like huge advice, is to go throw. Get the reps, nonstop. And like I've even done it in the past, like especially when I first started out, like in the off season. And the off season is like an easy time to where you're like, oh, like I'll come back like next season, next April, I'll start throwing again. And like, I'm like, you missed out on 5 months of practice. So what I did, like, even though it's cold and snowy and wet and not good, not conducive to throwing, I made a goal of like, we're doing 101 turns, we're doing 200 hammer throws, we're doing 300 stone throws in this off season, and we're going to track every single one of them, because there's like no way to fail with that. Like you're like, unless you're doing something completely wrong, but if you're gathering data and you're doing it consistently outside, like you're going to get better. And when you do well at a thing, I think it makes it more enjoyable. No one likes going out and on anything that they're new at and just sucking. That's never fun. But there's a point there where like you get better, and it makes it more enjoyable. You have a good understanding of what you're doing, and getting reps, being out in the field, and throwing is like important. Emily Adams, her advice here, and I think it's just generally good advice for everything, is have fun, and don't have an elitist attitude. Which, again, I think is perfectly reasonable advice for Highland Games, and even more so for just life in general. Um, have fun in everything you do, because why do it if you're not having fun? Um, and we've joked about this, and she's like, she says, if it's not fun, like why would you do it? I'm like, I do a lot of things that aren't fun. I'm a genuine glutton for punishment, but that is because I have like big goals, and accomplishing the big goals isn't always enjoyable. What's enjoyable is like the end, and then you can look back and like it's that second kind of fun, right? First kind of fun is like a roller coaster. You go up, you down. It's scary. It's exciting. And you get off. You're like, oh, that was fun. But you're not talking about it with your friends 2 years later. This is an example that like people use for like hunting a lot, and like going in like the backcountry and like hiking the Pacific Coast Trail and stuff like that. When you're doing it, it's raining, it's muddy, it's cold, you're exhausted, your feet hurt, your fingers hurt, everything's just nothing about this is actually fun. And if someone were to ask you in that moment that you're going through this process, um, are you having fun? You would say no, but you're going to talk about it with as fond memories years later. And that's kind of like my attitude for a lot of things is that it sucks right now, but it's going to be so much better in the future. Like when we look back and like, oh yeah, we did that. I did that. So like it's that second kind of fun. It's still fun. So it still falls in line with what Emily says. Is like have fun and don't have elitist attitude. Still fun. Just I find it later. And I don't think that's a super healthy attitude to have, and I don't think everyone should go for that. But I think it's something, right? And don't be an elitist, because here's the thing: you're not special. I'm not special. We're not special. We don't do anything interesting. Really, truly, like we are just human beings like everyone else. Everyone is. Um, so check the ego. That's kind of like, again, it's just the general rule for life is just don't have an ego. Like kill it. Kill the ego death. That's what they all say, right? Those mushroom people, right? Either way. Then okay, so now let's go to Brother Josh. Um, and this is an interesting one because like here's it's homework for you, right? It's like get a copy of Dan McKim's Throw Heavy and memorize the etiquette for throwing in a games. I haven't read Dan McKim's Throw Heavy, um, but I can imagine what's in it. And Dan McKim, if you guys aren't aware, Dan McKim is a legend in the Highland Games. He's hammer world record holder. Um, he's thrown it further than anyone can possibly imagine. It is ridiculous, like 130 something foot heavy hammer. Most of you will not come within 30 feet of it with your light, and that's just how much of a freak that this guy was. And that's funny. We were talking about we were talking about Dan McKim recently. He comes up in conversation. That's how great he is. Uh, we're talking about like no one. I've never met anyone. I've known a lot of people who know him personally and are friends with him, and like people who like aren't friends with him. Like, and no one's ever had anything bad to say about this guy. So if it means like buying his book or getting a copy of it, support Dan McKim because he's truly an amazing creature. That's what everyone says across the board. Um, but there's also a couple other things like when it comes to like getting books for the Highland Games. There are quite a few athletes who have written books over the years, whether it be training logs, like, I don't know, not necessarily memoirs, but like it's more than just sets and reps, right? Um, find these books. There's information on there. Whether or not you agree with all of it, there's still information to be had. And one of those I found that's very useful is Matt Vincent's Throwing Lab. That's the one that I got. That's kind of like my first base into like reading stuff from a professional Highland Games athlete to help me grow as a thrower. And he made one. He's made a couple. He's made multiple training plans for specific things. Dan McKim has done the same thing. Look at his stuff. Um, I believe there's one called The Contrarian Approach to Highland Games. I think that's what it's called. I know I'm getting that wrong. But I know one of you out there has it. has read it. Correct me on the title. And I think it's written by Carrie Overfeld, one of these old timers, one of these like legendary, like former like professionals, now masters throwers, still heavily involved in the games. I'm pretty sure it's Carrie who wrote that book. Tons of good information out there. Um, Mike Beach, back in the day, he was a lightweight thrower, nationals level lightweight thrower. He wrote a book called Heavy Light that covers a lot of this stuff. But get one of these guys' books, read it. There's tons of good information that's going to help you program your training. If you're serious about what this is, if you want to get really good at it, if this is like, if you're making this your hobby, or your pursuit, like I did, like I found at some point, I told myself this is, and it was day one. I found out this is a thing that I like. I like it more than anything else, and I'm going to pursue it to the fullest extent that I can. And sometimes it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of practice. But I found that there are a lot of people out there who have the similar drive, similar feeling towards the games. And if you kind of get to that point, you're new to the games, this is something that you should look into: is buying the books, borrowing the books from a friend, and reading up on it. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to read. Reading's boring. It sure is. But there's a lot of information out there that you're not going to get anywhere else, because a lot of these guys aren't putting out YouTube videos telling you how to do things. Josh also says, throw as many games as you can and be helpful, gracious, and supportive to the people around you and the athletic directors. So I'll talk a little bit to that, right? Doing as many games as you can. It's weird coming from a non-sport hobby, right? If you have or no hobby at all, to find that like, oh, like they're telling me like I got to do 15 games a year. I say yes. There's one thing. It's practicing. Practicing is one thing, but doing well in a games is a whole nother thing that requires you to actually do games. Because they're long. They're 9, 8, 10 hours. Like it's a long day of standing in a hot field with no shade. It's hard to manage all of that. And so if you're like, oh, I'm going to do 2 games a year, you're not going to have like the skills and the reps required to be able to put out everything you got on three attempts on each event. So you're going to leave a lot in the tank because you're not accustomed to it. And then you're not like, your nutrition's off because like you've only done 2 games in the last 3 years or whatever. And like you're wondering like why like you're not getting better or whatever, like because like you only have these many opportunities to compete, and your nutrition's off, your hydration's off, you're not putting out the effort that it takes during the competition. Some of the stuff takes time and reps, just like we talked about, like with getting on the field, more reps on reps on reps, and some of those reps are in games. And I will say, it makes it so much more enjoyable competing in the Highland Games when you actually compete in the Highland Games. Doing it is one thing. Have your practice group, that's great. But like going head to head with a guy or a girl in competition and be like, I have to make this mark. I need to set a foot PR right now. Otherwise, my day's done. I'm not going to the podium. And like that feeling, it's very unique. It's freaking awesome. Like once you start like really pursuing getting good at this, but you only can do that if you do games. How many is the question, right? It's like I said like 15 a second ago. Like in reality, man, you could do like 5 games a year. Most people have 5 games local-ish to them. Like you're going to drive a couple hours, you might have to get a hotel, which I think is great. Supporting the economy, spreading the wealth around, and you are getting to meet new people, and you're making like little trips of it, and like that's what makes this fun, is like getting those little trips, right? I would say there's a certain point in the games that you should start traveling, and that's not new throwers. That's not beginning first couple years. You can if you want. I think it was really good. You meet a lot more people, a lot more perspectives. You'll learn a whole lot more moving out of your current group that you're throwing with. But that's not mandatory. What is, I think, is kind of mandatory is to do all the local games near you. The ones that you don't have to get a hotel for, I think those are like a must. Get to know everyone in your area, your consistent people, because what's going to happen is you're going to compete against the same couple guys, same couple girls every week, every other weekend during the summer, and you're going to find out like who you want to go against, like who are you gunning for, not like in like a malicious kind of way, like you're not going to like Tanya Harding them out in the field, but like it'll help you get like motivation, get goals, set goals, like have things like in your mind like what you want to pursue, right? Last little bit on Josh's was be helpful, grateful, and supportive of your ADs and your volunteers and your other competitors. Um, but again, that's also kind of general life stuff. Is just be helpful, grateful, and supportive, right? These ADs, I need new people to understand this. There's no money in this. These ADs are not getting rich. They're not going to Bali after. They're not going to Bora Bora after the games. This is a labor of love, and everything I do is so you guys can have the opportunity to compete and throw and have fun, right? The be helpful aspect of that is um, be willing to put up standards, be willing to lay out implements, paint trig lines, uh, be helpful, come early, stay late. That is hugely important because it means the world to the guys and girls putting the games on that you're willing to help. It makes you look good, it makes you feel good. You're doing your charity work of the day, but also like these people need help. They all do, and some of them are too stubborn to ask for it. So give them help; they need it, and just be truly appreciative that they're actually getting this opportunity because it is hard work putting on games. There's all sorts of moving parts that need to happen to make it work, especially at like so like stuff bigger than like backyarders. And for those who don't know, backyarders are just like small games that aren't really attached to a festival. They're just like 10 to 30 people coming together and throwing and having someone mark and measure and stuff. Once you get a little bit past that, that's when stuff gets kind of tricky. Making sure T-shirts arrive on time, lunch is there, insurance is paid for, making sure that they're not going to go in debt to give you guys a fun day. So just be appreciative of the people around you. I talked to Haley Gow, and when talk if there's like a new person, right, and they're like, I don't know if I want to do it. I kind of want to do it. Like, go for it. That's what she says, is just go for it. And once you get out there and start competing, and start learning it, trying the new thing, and you find that you like the implements, you like throwing, and you like the community, like that's when you should find that throwing group. That's when you should start buying implements, buy that kilt, and and go all in. But and she also says, and this is helpful, a little shameless plug here. Watch YouTube. There are a ton of how-to videos on YouTube. I've made some. Garrett Blatnick, he's made a bunch of how-to videos. Willis Graves made a pretty good how-to throw hammer series, which is out on the internet somewhere. Look those up. Matt Vincent. These are things that I watched. I would talk about Matt Vincent's Throwing Lab book. I used his YouTube, his how-to. I think they're called Going Deep, and he has every event there. His sheave one's not so good, if I recall, but his open stone. If you're a rotational thrower, his open stone's really good. His weights are good. How-to videos, and there's a wealth of information. The hard thing about finding stuff on the internet on YouTube is that Highland Games is not super popular. So be willing to dig through YouTube to find it. But they're out there. There's a ton of stuff. Like I have a friend, he found a bunch of stuff, a bunch of like old Highland Games videos from the 90s, like full games from the 90s that they're just on YouTube in there. And he dug through it and found it. And I've tried finding them. I don't know how he did it. They're out there though. Tons of cool stuff to watch and learn from YouTube. Look it up. And then lastly, we got John Oden. uh, his advice for new throwers, and this is kind of like if you found the games, you want to get good at it, right? It's find a great coach, buy implements, and get your body kind of like prepared to do the task, right? There's he uses the word prime. Get your body primed before you start pushing hard. And this is an interesting thing because if you look at numbers of Highland Games athletes, the statistics of it, there are a lot more Masters athletes than there are anyone else. Um, there's a ton of Masters athletes, and so this advice is very applicable to them. Like, get your body primed and ready. There's a lot of people who are kind of average gym goers, or maybe not at all. They found the Highland Games and they wanted to give it a try. Most of the people who do that are over 40 years old. And there's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. It's super fun, and we have implements that fit you, right? That fit your age and strength level. That's there. But you don't want to come out and just be like, it's a little bit of like check your ego. There's not anyone in particular. This is just generally speaking. You don't want to push yourself too hard on something so new, because there's a chance that you could get injured. And then once you get injured on like your first couple times doing it, your first year, you're like, well, that didn't work out. I'm done. We want to see you back. We want to see you keep doing this year after year, month after month, whatever, right? Decade after decade, until the day we all die. And that's what I want to do. I want to die on the field. But the only way you can get to dying on the field is like being able to do it long term, and that's like getting your body prepared for it, getting proper training, getting proper advice from a coach, from there's a few guys out there who do a lot of good Highland Games coaching. Some will program your weights and like your gym stuff, and then there's other guys who will program your throwing, who will get you ready for a season and get you practicing for like championship games and things like that. A lot of options out there for coaches. That's kind of what we got for advice from everyone else. My advice, I can talk on this for hours. I'm not going to, but I'm gonna try to kind of sum it up in a good thing. It is pretty, man, like these guys, the people I surveyed kind of hit it all. But just come out and just do your best. Understand that you're not going to be good day one. But if you're cool, I mean, if you're like even a little bit cool, we will help you. We will get you to we will get you to be as good as you possibly can be if you want it. The Highland Games community is so great. I've never met a better group of people. Sure, we have our problems. Who doesn't? But ours are very little. Like, they're very minuscule. It's like nothing to worry about, right? We are a great group of people, and we will get you all the help you need, all the help you want. If you wonder about, like, let's see, like when I started, like I never had to wonder about anything, right? I was told like day one, like, oh, there's a database. It's called NASGA. Now it's actually going to be heavy athletes, so pay attention to that. NASGA is no more heavy athletes in the future. So we have a database that we can watch and track all your throws. So like keep up on that. That's for me, that was huge motivation to get better and keep at it. Is because I saw my ranking start taking up all the way to the top, and I was like, this is great. But someone told me that. I didn't have to ask. They were giving out this information when I was throwing like stones like a dork and throwing weights like I didn't know how to do it, because I didn't know how to do it. There were people there to help me, and very knowledgeable people to help me along the way. When it came to like implements, and I was like, where can I practice? I found people who had the implements to practice. And then it came to, oh, I want to get implements for myself so I can practice more. And they helped me get the implements that I needed. The community cannot be understated how great everyone is. So try the Highland Games, fall in love with the people, and never leave. That's what I'm doing. So that's it. That's it for this. That's kind of like, that's it for the advice for newcomers. We appreciate every newcomer. Um, we want to see this. We want to see the sport grow, and one way to help do that is to get new people onboarded into the games. Um, I want to see on heavy athlete. I talked about it in the episode with Michael McDougall about the site statistics. Statistic. It's a hard word to say. Words are hard. Numbers are harder. He has statistics on there that show you how many active users are competing in the United States and Canada. Whoever uses NASGA or heavy athlete, we have a number of how many people that is, and it's getting bigger every year. I want to see it continue to get bigger. I want to see big jumps. Like right now, we're at like 3,638, something like that. Next year, I want to see that number to be 8,000. I want to see a huge boom. And the only way we do that is to expose people to the games and create like better, like more and bit larger communities of throwers that can help facilitate that. Another way to help is share these videos, share these podcasts, tell your friends about it. Comment down below if you guys have any advice for newcomers, because hopefully this episode kind of blows up a little bit. We get some new people to see it, and that can help them out. And I want to hear what you guys have to say. What are your advice for new people? Or just in general, like what's your advice for Highland Games throwers, like how to get better? Give me anything you got. I want to see it. Don't forget, please like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, things like that, because that helps the algorithm, helps more people see it, helps the Highland Games grow, and makes more newcomers. That's what we want. But again, that's all I got for this week. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, throw far. God bless.